Look what Daddy made. It's hot, don't touch. Yeah, it's hot, we have to be careful. We're going to drill a hole in there. Okay? We have to mark it. Let you mark it. Good job. Welcome back, guys and girls, to another episode of Dad's Toy Garage. And today a big part of what we're going to be doing is relocating the battery to the trunk, at least getting a good start on it. And probably won't have all the cable or all the wires and stuff run, but we'll for sure get the battery tray whipped up. And you probably also saw in the intro video a little guy helping me out. That's my little boy, and it was actually the first time having him in the shop with me, and it was kind of fun hanging out. And I put the earmuffs on him, did a little bit of grinding, and he just smiled and was pretty excited about it. So that was exciting for me. So let's get into this and have some fun. Made a bit of a roadkill style to-do list, and that's the most of the details I need to work out on the 1973 Celica yet. In the rear window section, right over there, I already cut out the rust, but it was soft here. I could poke through with a punch pretty easily by hand. So I've made this piece to go in here. I'm gonna have to trim it a little bit more. Just get it lined up here. So it fits really nice, but it's too tight of a fit to do a butt weld. So we're gonna have to trim the edges down a little bit, and then we'll weld that in place. I gapped the space a little bit more on the patch in the rear window frame here, and I got magnets holding it in place. So I'm gonna give that a shot at welding that. Hopefully it doesn't react too weird with the welder and the sparks and the magnets. We'll see what it does. The rust hole here is done. I've ground it down, so that will be ready for some body work after the shell is blasted. I stroked the first one off that list, the fixing that window frame, and we'll just keep picking away at the list. I found a couple screws, so I drilled the holes and put the screws in. So everything is tight here now. I also got the seat belt in this spot here where it needs to be. Fits good. This piece fits good. And the kick panel, which you can't see, fits good. I found some clips. I clipped that in place. Alright guys, I'm going to do a little bit more internal frame coating. I've done my welding and grinding now on this quarter panel and rocker panel. So we're going to coat the inside, extra preventative measure. What I like about the frame coating is it's getting where it needs to. It's squirted out through the seams, areas like this. You can see it in here. So you got in there. Both sides. Like that. If you look underneath here, there's a couple drips and stuff. They're coming out through the holes. So I know I got coverage all the way in there. And the excess hits the floor. That's why I put the mats down, so I know I got coverage in there. Kind of coated up way in there. Because when I welded, I used weld through a primer, but this ensures that anything that burned off is not covered. Now I got a protective coating. So we'll get the outside. I was just showing the outside. So I've done this seam in here. This seam in here. The whole bottom rocker panel seam And this is kind of a hard to get section in here, so it worked great with the wand. I've done in there. I've done in here. You can see it's kind of squirted out there. Good access hole right over there, which also gets in the inside of this rocker cap here. So that's really good. If you look in there, you can see this is in front of the wheel tub. So right down, kind of right in there, is that hard to get spot. And the other spot I've done is this seam here from the inside. So that should be nice and coated now. I did the exact same on the other side of the car. And I'm going to do the frame rails yet once we get the car blasted. I just went out on a snowbank and pulled these from the Miata. I had the battery inside for winter because it'll freeze and be shot by spring, but I pulled out the tray, the tie down pieces. So the plan is to get this battery into the trunk, kind of in this space here. I'm gonna build a little tray that'll it'll have a bar going across here and it'll hover in this area. So that's the plan for that. The first step of this build for me is gonna be I'm going to get another Miata tray like this, most likely. That way, if the battery leaks, it doesn't run into the car and rust it out right away. I'm going to trace the shape outline of this, build a metal box around it, and I got some materials here. Some heavier plate stuff. But I got these old seat brace pieces, and they actually will work really well for that. They're the right thickness, a little bit extra strength there for the battery. This is the start of the battery box. It's a steel frame. I'm getting pretty happy with how my welds are coming out. Stacking some dimes, I guess they call it. We'll get that bracket over here by the welder. And we'll just drop it in there. So that's awesome. And so when you have the battery, the one-hander battery here, that's how it sits in the Miata. So what I'm going to need to do now is underneath here, probably do a brace, and a brace, and that should hold it up nicely. I've got some material for that. Now I'm going to be welding in these cross plates into here, so we'll start on that. Alright guys, there is my start of my battery tray. I'll throw in the snowbank to cool it off. So here's a close-up on the battery tray so far. I've just finished the welding of this part. The tray should slide in here. There you go. So there's the plan for the battery tray. I've welded a pair of tabs in the back here. They're going to have weld nuts welded to the car, and then they'll bolt through. And then I'll have another pair of tabs that I've welded here. And there's a metal rod that's going to run through this way. It'll get welded onto there and welded onto the floor of the car here. And then I'll drill a hole through there. So I gotta get more of this rod. I'm out of that size. Here's a closer look at the tabs that I've welded on. And the rear side has some tabs welded on as well. Picked up a couple items for the battery mount. I got the square tubing, long enough now I can cut it down, and I just asked for a scrap piece that they had at the metal store. That way I don't have to pay for labor to get it cut. And it gives me a little extra material, probably for a same cost or cheaper. And I picked up some more hardware. We're going to use that to mount the tray to the car. So we'll get into that now. So here's the plan. I got the battery tray, and if we're looking in the trunk, we're looking at it this way. So we got the two tabs that are further away from us when we look into the trunk. And it's going to be like this in the car, with this end cut off and this nut welded on. And then it will be this nut will be welded on to the car with the threaded stud. And then a washer here and a nut here to secure it to the car. So I'm going to cut this down and weld this, and that'll be the first thing I do. So there's our bolt and nut cut down. I'm going to drop a weld bead into here and then grind it smooth, and then we'll weld that to the car. So I got this side. Basically what I'm doing here is, now I've got the welds ground down. It looks like another bolt, and except it's to the length that I need it at, and I've tightened the bolt and washer on that side, so I'm going to do the same. We're going to slide this through, the washer on here, like that, and then the bolt goes on there. So now they're both on there. I'm going to set it in the car. I'm going to put the angle iron in the back on this side so it's just level where it needs to, and I'm going to just tack these into place in the car. And there are the studs welded into place. Now we're going to fit up the battery tray so that we can mount the other brace for the other end of the battery tray. This is the brace here for the back of the battery. So it slides in the back holes in the bolts there and the studs, and it drops down onto there, and then it would bolt on. But I want to build a couple tabs yet on each side here and there to hold the rods that tie the battery down. So we won't bolt that down just yet. I built these tabs on both sides, and they are for putting the J-hooks into for the battery tie down. The battery tray is officially done now. Alright, there is the tray fastened in with its brace. This is the battery tie down I just finished making. I had a couple features. There's this hook here, a little part that stands out, and that will go on this part of the battery there. And then this and this needed to be at the right height, so I got those brackets. There's that one and that one, and then I've added the side braces, so we'll throw it on there. So that's a really nice fit on there. So I'm going to throw that in the car, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like. So everything but the wiring is done for this battery relocation, and this far has been done for about what did I spend? About $10. That includes all the hardware, the nuts and bolts, and the J-hooks. That's all I've had to spend. The tray came out of my Miata, so I'll have to get another one of those yet. And this is a battery that froze 2 winters ago, so it's a good test fit battery. It's a Miata battery. And the J-hooks are just multi whatever, like they're not for any specific car. And the tie down, when my garage door opener quit on the house, this is that track that holds it up. I've cut it down and reshaped it. And then this brace I had in a scrap steel pile. So that's all there is to this. Now we gotta run some battery cables. One other thing I'm gonna mention with this battery location, the plan I had for this brace here, like right here and here in that area, there's supposed to be a cover, and my car doesn't have it. It's just missing, and that covers up the jack for the spare tire. And I'm going to turn that into a compartment, and I plan on mounting a hinge to this piece here. so that it hinges open. You can get into the jack still nice and tidy, and then I'll just close this off with another piece of something, so that'll be part of this project yet too. Down underneath here I welded a bolt on, and that will be to mount my battery, negative battery cable, and I got it solid welded to the chassis of the car that way, so we're going to bolt that on now. So here's the ground cable. I've shortened it from the celica. It's one that was in the engine bay, and I've welded the stud under here like we've talked about, and it's bolted on now. The other thing I've done is done vent tubes, some of this clear tubing, and I've put a T in there, and then it runs underneath, and you probably won't see it very well. Oh, there it is, right there. There's a grommet in the floor that actually had a hole in it. It's the right size, so I slid it through, and it comes up under the car right there. So that's where the vent tube comes out. Thanks for joining me on another episode of Dad's Toy Garage. Got our battery relocation done. I guess all that we have left with that is running the positive cable, and then we'll be able to see everything function electronic wise. So until next time, we'll talk to you later.